This is Dr. Jenny, and this is the third video in the Unit 3 series. And so let's get started and look at Chapter 11, Problem 15. In Problem 15, we're asked to do actually 3 different investment criteria techniques. We're doing the net present value, we're doing internal rate of return, and we're doing the modified internal rate of return. And just so one of the things I wanted to include in here was the survey that was outlined in our textbook of the most popular capital budgeting methods. And if you'll notice here, the internal rate of return is the most popular, with net present value following very closely behind it. So we're going to look at why we would do a modified internal rate of return in this problem. If you notice here, it talks about when you have values that are both negative and positive within the cash flow stream. So let's take a look at this and you'll see what I mean. In this problem, I just copied down the information and laid it out in our typical fashion so it's easier for us to calculate. You'll notice that we have both a negative number in year 0 and a negative number in year 4. That's the mixed values of cash flow that I speak of, and that's one reason that we want to use the modified internal rate of return. If I just use the internal rate of return the normal way, I just lay these these values out here, and then down here to calculate my regular internal rate of return, what I'm doing here is I am just using my IRR formula. As you can see here, let me double click this so you can see it, and I'm highlighting the D17 through D27, and I just put in a guess then of 5%. So I've got my values and my guess in there. And so even before I get started, if I had done this for a company, I'd be saying, I don't think we want to do this project. That is not a good internal rate of return. It's negative. So the next step I might take was, well, let's check out the present value. And what I did here is I did the present value one year at a time. And essentially what I did here is I took the present value, I used the 12%, which is the discount rate we needed to use, and then I referenced, you'll see up here in this formula, I referenced the C18, which was year 1, and there's no payment, that's why you see a second comma there, and then the D18 refers to the $4 million in cash flows. So essentially what I've done here is each time, now you'll see it says C19 and C20 and so on. Each of these actually refer to the, when you're using the present value factor, the number of periods. And so, and there is no payment in this, so that's why I used 2 commas in a row there. But as I go through this, you'll notice these are positive, then we have a negative one, and so on. And then down here, all I did here was just total the net present value. Now there could have been other ways that I did this, but I just wanted to lay it out this way, and so you can, I'm going to need that amount of present value for that year 4 to actually do the modified internal rate of return. So you kind of have to do that no matter what anyway. So I've done that, and what you'll notice here, another alarm bell should go off because our net present value is negative. This is a very large negative number here, so that's telling me do not invest in this project. But we need still to do the modified internal rate of return in order to actually understand, this, to match it to the actual cash flows. So here's how you do it. You'll notice I didn't pull over the regular $20 million in year 0. What you do is you're going to add up any of the present value of your negative numbers up in the year 0. So like if you'll see here, this is an addition, this amount here is an addition of the $3,177,590 in year 4 and the year 0 amount. So I'm putting that amount up there first. Now that means that when I get down to this year 4, I just put a slash through there are 0 because I've included it up in year 0. And if I had other amounts down here, if this amount was a negative number, that would all be added up here to year 0. And then what we would do is that we just bring over any of the positive amounts over the numbers over normally. Now when we get down to do the modified internal rate of return, we do not need to do a function that's MIRR. We just do the regular internal rate of return. And as you can see here, I've added that, have my values here. I just highlighted it. I don't comma it. I just grab the whole thing. And then I put in my guess of 5%. And what you'll notice here is then I have a modified internal rate of return of 7.4. Well, that is low. That is so low. This would not be a project that we would invest in. If our cost of capital is 12%, this project will not add anything to our value, our stock value at all. So this would be a project that we would not accept. Hopefully going through this has helped you see that this is not so difficult, that it is something that a tool that you can use, because that's what we're doing. We're building a set of tools that will allow you to make decisions involving capital budgeting. Everyone has a budget. You have a budget. Even if it's not at your organization, you have a personal budget. You have to determine how you're going to spend your money. And these are tools that especially in the corporate world, that give you some mathematical certainty of whether or not to accept projects. So this is just another way for you to add those tools to your toolbox. And I hope you enjoyed this presentation and find that the problem in the My Finance Lab now will not be so daunting. Thanks for coming.